Alright, welcome everyone to English Composition ENL101. This is already week 10, guys. Week 10. And today I want to talk about research methodology, which I was actually supposed to upload last week. But because last week we have a bit of confusion, and it involves not only INTI as a whole, but it also involves the government, hence I could not upload this video. So last week we have the announcement that all of the classes would be done in online, which is on Blackboard, which is what we did on Tuesday. Am I right? At 8 a.m. and I was very thankful that majority of you guys attended the class. However, following that, when we have our restriction movement order, the government had decided to actually make a few changes, and we're not allowed to do online classes. Okay, that's my cat. Online classes because of certain reasons like internet connections, yada yada, which is why I had to sort of hold back my class. So it wasn't really intentional, guys. The latest update that I received was to actually hold the classes or even start doing class. We are only allowed to do the classes today, 24th of March, on Tuesday. So which explains why I'm just uploading or doing this class today. Okay, I really do apologize if some of you guys, I think some of you guys, majority of you guys kind of emailed me and asked me questions. So I really do apologize for that because there have been some confusions, and I'm just merely following the instructions given by the INTI. So I apologize for that. Now let's just put that aside and let's talk about research methodology, which is something what we want to achieve today. Okay? Right, so how are everybody? How are you guys doing with the lockdown? How are you guys? So I hope that you guys are somewhere safe. Whatever that you guys are, I hope that you guys are doing okay. Make sure that you are doing all of the things that you should be doing, which is, keeping yourself healthy. And making sure that you guys are in a very clean environment. Not only that, please do not forget that you guys are still students, so please keep on doing your assignments even though that we're still in this lockdown situation going on. Okay, so let's see. Actually we kind of a bit left behind from our schedule. As you can see in this table here, from this table, you should be able to know your topic already. But when I look at the Blackboard, not a lot of you guys gave suggestions to your group mates. I think there's only one group, which is group 3. So Stan's group did a very good job. Each one of them have given some suggestions, but they haven't finalized the topic yet, which is fine because we couldn't do anything last week because of the RMO. So I'm going to talk about it in a bit. So as you can see here, today now is week 10, guys. So by this time, actually, you guys should start distributing your online survey. And not only we do not have this, we actually haven't even finalized your topic and also trying to prepare you guys for your survey. And today I want to talk about survey. I want to talk about how you can collect your data through methodology. Alright, so I hope that we can do this 2 steps by the end of this week. And if you are able to finalize your survey, that will be wonderful, and I hope that you can start collecting your data as soon as possible because we are running out of time. Okay, so please follow this process or these stages that I'm hoping that you guys do achieve, and hopefully in week 12, if you want, if you can give me your first draft of your project so that I can have a glance of your report. I can tell you what you can improve so that you can get higher marks for your report writing. Okay, so please remember your report submission is due in week 13, and then in week 14 you guys will be having your presentation, and also we're going to do a bit of peer assessment on Blackboard in week 14. Now I understand that maybe some of you guys are still confused, and really we don't know what's going to happen in future. We don't know if this RMO is going to be extended, or are we going to continue our classes in campus. We're still waiting for the announcement, so please keep yourself updated with the latest announcements on Blackboard. This is very, very important, you guys. Even though we are still in this stage of RMO, but I must stress and I must emphasize that all of the assignments, all of the assessments are still going on. So please make yourself, discipline yourself. I know it's going to be very hard, but please make sure that you guys are doing what you're supposed to do. Okay? Right, so for your report, you are required to choose a topic that you, not just you, but everybody in the group would want to research on. Okay, so your topic should be very appropriate and has significant importance to the society. So I want you guys to avoid any sensitive topics like race, politics, and sex. So an example of this would be the use of plastics around NT campus. Now I have given you guys a briefing about this, so I don't have to talk about this again, but this is just a bit of like a reminder on you guys. When I open the Blackboard, I see some people have done it and some people are yet to finish it. So I'm hoping by the end of this week, please finalize your topic. This is very important, guys. This is a lot of marks, yeah? So what I want you to do is, number one, I need you to finalize your topic for your assignment, and hopefully you can do this before the end of this Friday at 12 p.m. So for some groups who have listed out possible topics, and which is very good, well done to that group 3. You guys have listed out some possible topics that you guys want to do, but right now we're trying to get a final decision of what kind of topic that would be suitable for you to do a research on. And for that matter, I want you guys to email me. Just one person try to email me, and if you can CC the rest of your group members, and then try to schedule an online appointment with me. So we're gonna have an online appointment. I'm gonna give you a link to a Blackboard Collaborate. So we're gonna have a bit of like a small group appointment to discuss about your topics. Okay, so please email me to schedule an appointment. This is very important. As soon as you guys manage to finalize your topic, then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so here I'm gonna show you guys again. So once you have finalized your topic, then only we can try to think about what could be the best way to collect the data. Then only you can start distributing your data. So please schedule an appointment to have, or to schedule an online or virtual appointment with the rest of your group members and with me. Okay? Right, let's just get into this. Let's just talk about methodology in report writing. So at the end of this class, hopefully you guys should be able to analyze and interpret graphs, tables, and charts. I also hope that you guys will be able to describe the information that you have gathered in a form of visual information. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look into what is data. So data can be referred as facts or statistics that you collect via a certain methodology, certain ways. For example, surveys and interviews. Now, data can be collected in a form of analysis or reference. Now, in order for you to get data, you must know what is the best way to collect the data itself. Now, the best way to collect the data is something that we call methodology. Now, for you to have, or for you to choose the best methodology, you also need to consider what type of data that you want. Okay? So there are two types of data. It could be in a form of qualitative data and also quantitative data. So let's see. When we talk about qualitative data, it's always dealing with description or explanations and opinions. So qualitative cannot be measured with any kind of units because it can only be observed. So some of the examples of qualitative data could be in a form of color, when you try to describe the color or try to describe this texture, smell, taste, beauty, and experience. In other words, qualitative mainly deals with string of words where you try to describe a phenomenon. Now, in contrary to qualitative data, we also have this thing called quantitative data, where you try to deal the data in a form of numbers. What's unique about quantitative data is that it can accurately be measured. Hence, it has a certain units. So, example of quantitative data we often associate with length, height, area, people, temperature, sound, yada yada, yada yada. So to make it simple or to simplify things, I have made this table where I distinguish between qualitative data and also quantitative data. So when it comes to qualitative data, your research question, your objective of your research or your report always deals with questions like who, what, how, when, and why. Whereas when it comes to quantitative data, it often revolves around the question of how much. Hence, we're looking at the magnitude of it. Alright, so there are different methodologies or methods here when you want to use qualitative data. So first here we have observation, we also have interview, and even in interview itself there are different types of interviews. So we have focus group interview where you invite a few people or respondents and then you ask them to interact with each other and discuss about the topic. Whereas semi-structured interview revolves around having a face-to-face, one-by-one, where you as a researcher would ask questions to your respondents. And then your respondents, you have a set of questions that you want to ask. However, you also allow a bit of flexibility for your respondents to kind of like, go with the flow. So respondents may answer your questions however they want it, and you as a researcher can also follow along with the data by also following the responses that is given by your respondents. So we also have survey questions that can be in a form of qualitative. Now please take note because both methods could have survey questions. But when and how do we define if that survey question is qualitative or quantitative? When it comes to qualitative data, it could be in a form of open-ended questions. So open-ended questions always deals with opinion of the respondents. So you ask them in your survey, you ask them their opinion. So it's not a matter of choosing which sort of like check boxes or you don't give them a list, but rather you ask their opinion, so they have to type or they have to sort of like give out their opinion. So it could be in a string of words, okay? Whereas when it comes to quantitative, the survey questions that are dealing with quantitative data could be in a form of Likert scale or Likert scale, however that you wish to pronounce it. And also, when we talk about Likert scale, it's often a method of describing a quantitative value to a qualitative data. So we try to look at numbers from the survey questions. Not only that, we can also look at frequency mean, standard deviation, and mostly descriptive analysis in quantitative data itself. And all of these can be derived from the survey questions. Okay, I'm going to give you guys some examples so that you guys won't be too puzzled when it comes to methods. So next, moving on to focus. So when it comes to qualitative, as it's suggested by its name, qualitative is always focusing on the quality, looking at the meaning of an experience, whereas in quantitative data, you look into the frequency, the quantity of it, or the magnitude, on how much is it. So just now we have talked about some of the examples. Examples of qualitative could be in a form of color, it could be in a form of experience, texture, or even taste of it. Whereas quantitative often needs numbers. So it could be in a form of height, area, people, temperature, yada yada. Alright? So these are the differences. Now, once you have finalized, once you have decided on what kind of method that you want to use in your survey, then you would have your data to be represented. So once you have collected your data should be able to be analyzed. From that, it could be in two ways. So depending on your type of methodology, it could be in a form of quantitative or qualitative data. So when we talk about quantitative data, it often being described using visual information such as graph, tables, and charts, whereas in qualitative data, it's often represented via writings and perhaps quotes. So some of the examples of writing or presenting your data are like this. So you have quotation marks, and then you can have the quote, and then or you can sort of like give a summary or provide a paraphrase of your finding in a form of sentence like this. Students born between the year 1998 until 2000 are more familiar with modern technology as they were born in a digital age. Okay, so you use what you have found and you put it in words basically. Next, so let's take a look into how do we present your quantitative data using visual information. So there are different ways of you presenting your quantitative data, which is something that I want to see in your report writing itself. So here, the first example here, the first type of visual information that we have right now is something that we call a bar graph or bar chart or a column graph, depending on different, people would say it differently. So here you would have the x and y axis, so the horizontal and vertical lane. And this is something I think a lot of you guys have learned in your mathematics class, so I don't want to focus too much on it, but from this you should see the variables here as well. Okay, so this is what we call a bar graph. Next is a line graph. So line graph, the value is mostly in the vertical line here. So a lot of the categories can be in a form of year, time, or activity. So as compared to before, you see there is a column or a bar here. Now we have a line. So when do you use line graph? Most people would use line graph to show some trends. Okay, so if you want to see throughout the years if the wildlife population is increasing or decreasing, you would use a line chart or line graph. Okay. Next is a pie chart. Pie chart is when you try to show your data in a form of a circle where you try to divide it into different sections. Okay, so this different section is determined by your independent variable, and most often it is coded with different colors or different patterns to show different sections. And please remember, when it comes to pie chart, it's always represented in a form of percentage. not the numbers. So you got to be very, very careful, and you do your math on percentage. So please make sure when you analyze your data and you try to sort of like provide explanation on your pie chart, please make sure you're not confused between the frequency or the number itself with the percentage of it. Okay, so please be very, very careful if you want to use pie chart. Moving on, next is table. So table is very, very interesting. I think if you guys are doing a lot of research, if you guys are moving forward to postgraduate studies, this is something that a lot of us would use. Okay, we don't really use pie chart or anything else, but most often we would use table. So there's really no right or wrong way of it. Sometimes you want to represent, or you want to put this here, you can do that as well. So it really depends on how you want to present your data. As long as you can understand it, and as long as you can make people understand the data, is also okay. Right, so another way of showing your data could be in the form of organizational chart. So organizational chart shows the structure of an organization or even some relationship between positions or rank. So here we have the top of the department, which is someone that we call the president, and then we would have different ranks below the president. Okay, so next is a flow chart. I think a lot of engineering students would use flow chart in their report. So flow chart represents a flow or a process, and not only that, it also shows steps and orders by connecting via boxes and arrows, and it also illustrates a solution model given to a problem. So you can have here what's going to happen next, what's going to happen here. So there are really different options, and what are the consequences from the process that has been chosen. So this is a flow chart, which is something that you can do in your report as well. Moving next is a tree diagram. So tree diagram shows different possibilities of outcomes from an event. So it calculates all of the probability of a possible outcome. Sorry about that. Okay. So now I would like to see in your report, I would like to see different types, different kinds of visual information. So please make it variety in your report. The more that you put it, I think the more marks that you can get, because I want to see how you adapt this information and try to convey in the form of sentences as well. So in a bit, I also will be showing you guys some of the examples that your seniors have done, so that you know what am I expecting from this assignment. Okay, now when you have your visual information, you don't just show it, you also have to write it. So from that visual information, you should be able to write a bit of some like a couple paragraphs to show or to indicate that you understand and you are able to derive certain meanings from that chart, from that visual information that you guys are talking about. So in this lecture, I will be covering on three things. Number one is a bit of the language, some of the phrases that you might want to use. Secondly, what type of verb tenses that you have to use in different ways. And lastly, what could be some of these strategies in order for you to write visual information. So writing visual information is something that is very, very similar to IELTS task. I think if you guys are familiar with IELTS, you would know that you have to complete, or you have to describe some graphs or charts. So it's very similar to that. So if you are familiar with IELTS, then it should be fine for you. Okay, some of the phrases that you might want to use when you describe your chart, your data, or your table is firstly knowing different types of visual information that is conveyed or that you guys are using. So just now we have covered different visual information. From that, you should be able to detect, or you should be able to know what type of visual information is that. Okay, from that only, then only you are able to see, like, the pie chart is about, or the bar chart deals with, the line graph shows the slices of pie chart compare the blah blah blah. Okay, so some of the phrases that you want to describe graphs, charts, and table are using a few things that we call the general trend of it. So you have the largest, the second largest, as big as, twice as big as, is bigger than, more than, one third, less than half. So everything here has to be derived from the visual information itself. So you're trying to compare, which one is the largest, which one is the biggest. So you're looking at the general trend of the graph or of the visual information itself. Okay, so some phrases that you want to describe could be the number of blah blah blah. Is it increasing, increases? Is it goes up, or is it grows? Is it decreasing? Does it goes down? Does it sink? Does not change or remain stable? So I will try and then upload some examples and some phrases that you can use to describe your visual information on Blackboard. So please check it out as well. Okay, so let's talk about tenses now. So please remember, when the chart deals with facts in present, please use simple present tense. So if the chart deals with facts in the past, you need to use simple past tense. Lastly, if there is a connection between the past and present, then use present perfect tense. Okay? So the tenses will depend on the charts itself, on the facts that is dealing with the chart itself. So please be clear on this. So some of the strategies that you might want to use when you get your data, first of all, you need to brainstorm your idea first. When I talk about brainstorming ideas, you need to think about what are some of the visual informations that you want to put in your report. So would you want to relate this data with another data? Would you want to combine two different visual information and try to describe it in 2-3 paragraphs maybe? So I want to see your creativity in describing your data as well. So I don't want to, sort of like tell you this is the right way of doing it, I don't want that. I want you guys to be exploring more and more other options. So please be creative when you are presenting your data. I'm looking forward to sort of like see how you guys want to present your data. Now, secondly, it's important for you, once you have decided on what type of visual information that you want to use, you also need to be able to see the main information. How? By doing comparison and contrast. So you look into what could be some of the trends that you can see from the data itself. If there are two variables, we're looking at two different countries, what could be the difference or what could be the similarities between these two countries? So I want to see that. Lastly, you should also be able to report the main feature, the trend, the pattern of the visual information, but never ever ever give your own opinion, give speculation on the data itself if it's not derived from the visual information. For example, we have a table. For example, we have a table of two different countries. We have China, we have India. And then you can see the trend of using computer in India is decreasing from year 2000 up until 2005. So you see the trend is decreasing, but you don't know why. Never ever ever insert your own opinion on why such thing happened. because it's not derived from the visual information. Unless you go to your participants, you go to your respondent and ask them, like, why? Why is it decreasing? Then only you can report your data. If it's not something that you guys find out, it's not part of your objectives, it's not part of the visual information, that is considered as personal opinion. Therefore, do not put it in your report. Alright? Now, I want to derive your attention to your assignment. So, first of all, once you have finalized your topic with your or among your group mates, among your group members, I want you to think what could be the best method for you to collect your data based on the objective of your research or of your study. So how can you collect your data from or based on your chosen topic? So I would really suggest you to do online questionnaire, because it's very easy, it's very simple. So if you were to choose to do questionnaire, I want you guys to make it into 3 separate parts. So the first part would be demographic. So when we talk about demographic, it's often talking about a background, so somebody's name. But really, is it necessary? Do you really want to know the name of your respondents? So I want you to think about it. What are some of the questions? What are some information that you think is crucial from the objective of your study to be inserted in the demographic itself? So I want to see your creativity here. Secondly, I want you guys to ask a few general questions based on your topic. So for example, you want to look into the trend of bubble tea in Malaysia, for instance. So you might want to ask them, in a week, how many times do you drink bubble tea on average? So you would list out a few options. Could be less than 5, maybe 1 to 3. Okay, depends on you. And lastly, I want you to ask a bit more specific questions. So for example, your topic is on bubble tea. So some of the specific questions that you can ask: amongst the following brands of bubble tea, which one is your favorite? Why? Blah blah blah. So a bit more specific going into that. All right. So once you have finalized your topic, I want you to immediately start thinking about the questions that you want to put in your questionnaire. Think about your population. So your population could be Inti, could be anybody in general. It all depends on your topic. Secondly, think about the demographic information that you want to put in your part A. Is it age? Is it occupation? Is it gender? And think about what are some other questions that you want to ask your participants that you might want to consider in putting into your part B and also part C. So I want you guys to immediately start thinking about your survey, because time is ticking. Time is ticking. So please make sure that you do your job on time. Okay, because we don't have enough time. Okay, so I want to talk about Likert scale or Likert scale. So when you have Likert scale, it often deals with numbers, because you have on a scale of 1 to 5, for example, 1 as strongly agree and 5 as strongly disagree. So what is your opinion on Wikipedia, for example? So this is a very famous question that people often, very famous scale that people often use in social sciences or even in survey questions. However, as I mentioned, Likert scale is a type of quantitative data that is trying to show qualitative data, because it deals with number. So if you feel like you want to use Likert scale or Likert scale, think about what is the range? Do you want to use 1 to 5, or is it 1 to 7, or 1 to 10? Which one is better for you? And we're going to talk more about this if you guys decide to use Likert scale. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me in this session. But before that, I think I need to list down a few to-do lists, because it's going to be a bit hard for us to communicate, because really you guys are just listening to me and I do not know if you guys can understand my instructions or even my lectures. So please, so number one, I need you to list down some possible topics. Some of you guys have done it, some of you haven't. If you haven't, please do it. After you're done listing down your topic, please try to schedule an appointment to see me. We're going to do an online appointment, appointment with everyone in your group, so with your group members. So please email me so that we can finalize your topic as soon as possible. Right after that, I need you to start working on your survey questions. Okay, so this is the first three things are dealing with your report assignment. It's very important, guys, so please do it. Lastly, I want to remind you on your reflective essay. Your reflective essay is still due in week 13, 19th of April 2020, and reflective essay is an individual assignment. Okay, so please do this. I also want to remind you guys on the dates, the due dates for your assignment. Report writing is a group and it's 20%. The due date is 17th of April. Reflection is an individual, is 15%, it's quite a lot. It's due 19th of April. In week 14, we are going to have a bit of oral presentation on your group members. It's going to be on 21st of April 2020. And lastly, your friends will be evaluating your contribution in this assignment, in this report writing, and they will rate your contribution, and that will contribute 5% of your whole course marks. Okay, in total, all of your assessments would be 50%, and that is a lot. Okay, so please make sure that you guys are, keeping up to date on your assignments. It's very important, as I mentioned, even though that we are still in our RMO, restrict movement order, or we're still in our respective house, but still I want you guys to do your assignments. The assignments are still due in these weeks, okay? And I have made the assignments to be in week 13 and also 14, so this is already, the time, you still have time to complete all of these. However, if you still have any problems, any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate you. Please stay safe, stay at home, do whatever that you want, keep yourself healthy, but also please do your assignment. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. Have a good evening and take care.